Hello and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another season of EML Esports Masters League. We're F2, round 1 of season 5, and we are at the British Grand Prix. I am your main commentator this evening. The name is Lesty the Twig. You would have remembered me from the past couple of seasons. I've been here way too long. And joining me this season on co-commentator is a new man alongside me. Very happy to have him. It is Scott. Hello, Scott.
How you doing, Lester? Yeah, thank you for the warm introduction. Pleasure to be here. For those that don't know, CRL Freefall, but you can just call me Scott or Scotty, whatever takes your boat. And yeah, excited to be in this co-com box alongside you this season, mate.
Yeah, as am I. A lot of work on my own last year, so you guys watching, you've now got two of us to take you through all the action, and we're gonna be in for a treat. I can already tell. Silverstone, what a circuit to be starting the season on, and we've obviously got a completely different lineup to last season, season 4, and we're in the team cars as well. So Scott has the lineup for you of the teams and their respective cars to go through, so you know who to look out for.
Absolutely, yeah, like you say, 9 teams here for this season at present in F2, the AlphaTauri car lane. Not going to be raced by any of the teams this season. Starting off at the top then with the Red Bull, it's of course CPI in the Red Bull for this season. Ferrari will be LRN Esports, with the Mercedes inhabited by the 2 drivers of IRT, International Racing Team. The Alpines will be, like their team, the French drivers of Concept Racing, or RCR, for the short format. McLaren will be hosted by the LDL Esports boys, with Alfa Romeo taken up by WOR Esports. TGT in the Aston Martin, with RVL in the Haas, and that leaves Legacy Pit Lane Esports, or LE for short, taking up that Williams. 9 teams, 18 drivers going into this first qualifying session, and indeed this season. And I believe, Leslie, the first of our drivers on that, it's going to be block 43 in that Williams for Legacy Pit Lane Esports.
It is the man in the Williams, block 43, the first man who will be the field. He's now coming up. I've already forgotten the names. It's been that long since I've done commentary. But he's coming up to Maggots and Beckett's. I know that one. He's taking this full throttle, as you've got to. He's gone a bit deep on the exit, though. Oh, he's gone well out of shape. I'm not sure. Has he invalidated? I think he has. So he's not going to be our first time on the board. Let's have a look behind him. I see on it's Benjamin. So Benjamin is going to be our first timed lap as he's coming up to the end of this Silverstone circuit. What's the first time of the season going to be? It's a 1:25.6, immediately beaten by LRN Martin, 25.3 in the Ferrari.
25.6 for Benjamin, like you say. Jarmo Butterjay, I believe that's how you say it, going in with a 25.1. CPI McKillany going in P2 with a 25.286, and Astros in the Mercedes, of course, in for IRT, goes P6 with a 25.7 at the moment. 6/10 separating that top 7 now, as Latos comes in with a P2 into that 1:25.1s as well, just a couple of hundreds back from Jarmo. I believe next up it is going to be one of the Alpines. It is Matozo, 41 in for RCR. He rounds this final corner, working his first initial lap in. A 25.462, Leslie, puts him provisional P6. Next up is a Haas. I believe that is Lorenzo. Yes, it is. And he goes P11, 11 and 12 for the 2 RVL drivers at the moment, but that's the first initial bankers with Leslie. A 1:25.1 already on the board, looking a promising qualifying session for us to begin with.
Yeah, looking fast so far. Still a handful of drivers to finish a lap. LDL, only Kitsune, I don't know if I butchered that, he goes P7, 25.5. we do have our work cut out this season with some of these names that I'm already seeing, as Alpha Gully of TGT puts his Aston Martin up into P6, and I'm going to now go on board with Jake Marsh GP in the Alfa Romeo. He's going to be the last one currently of the guys who haven't set a lap, and he goes P13 as LDL Nico, RCR Lorenzino and Block 43 all still in the pits or have returned to the pits. So that's the first initial round of laps done, as everyone looks to get back round, get a fresh set on and go again and look to improve. But looking very fast at the moment. What do we think, Scott? What initial times here? What are we looking at for a pole time, do you think?
That's a bit of a loaded question because, well, I'm not quite too sure what to expect. The 25-1, of course, the best of the bankers so far. I'd be very, very surprised if we don't creep down into the 24s. Just how low in those 24s are we going to get? Could we say a 0.8, 0.7, 0.9, 0.6? I mean, I'm sure there'll be a lot of these drivers who've got the potential to do a flying lap right down into those 26s. It's just 24, sorry. Just about who can pull it all together. I'm hopeful for you know, the sort of high mid end of the 24s here. Maybe a 24-7. I'm going to go for.
Oh, we're going to go for 24-7. I'm going to push it a bit further, and I'm going to say we're going to see a 24.6. I feel like someone's going to come out of nowhere and absolutely smash a lap out. I'm not sure, Scott, if you had a look at any of the races last season, but we had ERT Kieran, who was amazing, had such a good season, really drove well for the ERT team and ended up taking about 7 wins out of a 10 race season, which is pretty impressive when you come to EML, because EML is so tight. You got the best of the best teams here. Even in F2 you got the likes of WOR, CPI, IRT, these teams that have been around for ages, and then you've got upcoming teams like LDL, RCR, LRN, all different new teams. So it's going to be an interesting season. This race will definitely sort of give us a first look to see who's going to be the front runners and who's going to need some improvement off of the first race.
Oh, absolutely. You've hit the nail on the head right there. I mean, we've got 18 drivers here tonight, and there's not a single one of them you're looking at thinking they haven't got at least a shot at maybe putting that car up near pole or in a solid points position. And that goes for, of course, the 9 teams as well. For all their parents, they've got a big squad to use throughout the season. This is the drivers that are in for this first race. This is really going to springboard some of these teams and maybe some of the drivers' season going into this F2 here in EML. And it doesn't make or break your season, the first round, but it does a big part in building that confidence and trying to push on next week and the following weeks through this upcoming calendar. So really, as much as it is the first of many, it is still every little bit important. 7 out of 10 wins, that's going to be some feat to master, but who knows, we could see somebody pull just from that little pack, just edge themselves in front and maybe make a stake to match or even beat that record. But that would take some doing, Leslie, I can tell you that.
Yeah, it's not it's like Lorenzino is out of qualifying. He has been blocked by one of the LRN guys. It's Jarmo, but yeah, I don't know, I've butchered that. I'm so sorry, Jarmo. But yeah, he's been completely blocked there. He is out of qualifying on a hot lap, he was. And that is not a good start for the RCR driver, and I'm sure that might come back to bite Jarmo in the stewards room after the race. But we'll leave that to the stewards. We'll stay as the commentators for now. I'm going to go on board with someone who I believe is quite fast. I know him from personal experience. CPI Mikila NL. I probably butchered that as well. But this is someone I'm expecting to improve. So we're going to go on board as he's coming towards the end of the lap on the hanger straight, coming up to Stowe. Got to really hit that apex. He's gone slightly wide on the apex. It's not absolutely terrible. Down Vale into the final corners of Club. You can tell I've got the track map up now because I know all the corners off by heart. But he's made a really small improvement there. Jumped up from P4 to P3, and CPI currently sit second and third provisionally. Looking good for them so far. Who else are we expecting to improve?
Lorenzo looks to be on a bit of an improve on his previous lap time here. He's just rounding these final few corners. It is going to be a slight improvement of 3 tenths, pulls that Haas up into P13. While that was going on as well, QRT Jail Ram in for WR did improve up into P6E. He made a considerable amount of time through that final sector, particularly by the looks of things. I think we have a Mercedes coming through the final part of the track. It is Astros 999. What kind of lap can the Mercedes put the board? Currently down in P15 with a 25.7, and improves ever so slightly, 57,000, but not enough to gain another position. Red Bull of Lattice goes provisional P1 as things stand on 25.015. Not quite breaking into the 24s yet, Leslie, but CPI going from 2 and 3 to 1 and 3, a very strong showing for them at this stage of qualifying.
Yeah, looking good for the CPI guys so far. So far it's between them and LRN really for the strongest pairing. I'm trying to see if we've got any other guys coming up to the line on a hot lap. Is Julian? Yeah, I believe IRT Julian is coming up to line. What can he do? Can he improve? He can. It's a couple of positions. It's a 10th and a half. That is top 10 provisional for IRT Julian. There's a Haas also coming to the end of his lap. He's coming into the pits. That is Lorenzo, who we saw earlier, and LDL Nico. So most people now coming into the pits, getting their last set of tyres on for the final chance to improve on their times. Everyone joining in on the stream, thank you for joining us here on League Racing TV. If you are watching, please do give the stream a like. Give us a comment in the comment section as well. I see you, Jeffrey, doing well, my friend. Thank you for joining us. And make sure you subscribe to League Racing TV. That supports everyone at Esports Masters League, as well as all the other leagues that are shown on League Racing TV.
Julian then, the only car currently in track, he's on a slow down, cool down in lap, and it is going to be Block though, the first to pounce in the Williams for LE Esports team, of course. He's going to be the first to get out as well. That is LE Michelle XB. So LE going early for the final runs here, Leslie. Currently P4 and P17, although Block 43 with only a 137.565. Not really a competitive time you'd like to think of what that car is capable of doing. So they'll be the two to look out for. Still 3.5 minutes on the clock, however. Of course, 1:25-ish to get your flying lap in, but as long as you cross that start-finish line with a second, or half a second even to spare, you can get that lap in. So we should see a flurry of cars coming out very, very shortly. But just to echo what you said on CPI, P1 and 3, very, very much up there. LRN also up there, 2 and 5. And the rest of the pack, pretty mixed. WR currently P7 and 11, having a decent little bit of showing, but the McLaren's also up there. LDL, a very good showing from them on what I believe, I could be very wrong in saying this, is it their debut here tonight?
It is, you are correct. It is LTL's debut. Looking very strong, both currently inside the top 10. So they'll be happy with proceedings so far in this qualifying session, as we are now about to get underway with the final set of laps. Obviously the LE boys going out pretty early to maybe avoid traffic, but Block here is under some serious pressure with not a very competitive time so far, and he's got 1 lap to put it right. So we're going to stick with Block, as he's the only one here who doesn't have that competitive lap time, and we'll go on board with Block. So he's currently down 2 tenths on his sector 1 time. So his sector 1 time is obviously not where he went wrong. He's gone wrong somewhere on that timed lap that he currently holds. So at the moment we're not too sure as to his progress. It's going to be a hard one to judge. He's got no traffic though, which is the good thing. Quite smart of them actually. I think I would have done the same myself. If I'm ready to go, just get yourself out there, get some clean air. So if you look at your track map on the bottom right of your screens, look at all the cars that are now holding parts of sector 1 and sector 2. You don't want to be caught up in that. Block has managed to get a good lap here, and he's going to be able to set a competitive time. What's that time going to be? It's a 25.5, and he puts himself up into P13.
Very decent lap time considering the pressure was really on him. Managed to get out here, like I said, avoid that traffic. His teammate, however, Michel, didn't seem to have that same little bit of luck. He did match his first sector lap time just within 200s, but I'm not quite sure if it was a bit of blocking or if it was just a mistake. He did pull out that lap and is going again, and while that was happening, I believe it was that Julian with a 5-place grid penalty for illegal blocking. This traffic really starting to heat up and cause a little bit of bother. He's got another 5-second grid penalty as Julian for blocking, so currently 10 places worth of penalties for Julian, currently in P10. He needs to climb that Mercedes as high up as he can. Best place for him is going to be 11th at this stage, Leslie. But the final run's coming in. I think the next is going to be the Haas of Mr. Joe. He has improved ever so slightly by the look of things at the end of the second sector. He is 2.5 tenths adrift from his nearest rival of Astro 999. But we'll see if he can ride together a nice couple of corners here at the end of this lap. Maybe there's some time around these last couple of right-handers, and it's going to be up to the line for the Haas. He does improve, but stays P17. An Alfa Romeo, that's one of the WR cars. It is Gelram 23. What can he pull out on this final lap time? Up to the line, and it's a 25.304, goes P5 as things stand. Red Bull next up of McKillerney, stays P3, Leslie.
He does. Oh, as LDL Nico bins it off of the last corner. He's gone wide. He's off. He won't be improving. His teammate does, up to P6. Got to try and catch these guys quickly as they come across. Lorenzo moves himself up to top 10. Michel has gone into P1. It's a 25.007. That is awfully tight up the top. But wow, he's brought that lap just at the right time, as we're now watching Julian with the 10-place grid penalty. Puts himself into P5. He's not going to be starting at the back, and there's the one and only 24 time we're going to get in this session, and it is CPI coming back after Michel with that late push to retake P1, and that is pole for Lattice. Well done to him, Michel. Great effort for LE. Very contrasting stories there for the LE drivers. One in P2, one in P15. And RCR, I didn't get the name, it might have been Matteo, picks up P3. So yeah, that was a bit of a shaky one there for CPI, but they got it in the bag at the end. Lattice does take pole.
Yep, Lattice on pole for CPI. He's 1.21 tenths ahead of LE Michel. A very, very strong lap right at the end of the qualifying. He takes P2 ahead of RCR Matozo, a 25.1 right on the button, and then we have the next two cars Also in the 25 ones of Yarmo Buttigieg and CPI McKellar-Nee. Julian in P6, that will drop down 10 positions, however, due to those 2 blocking penalties. He's ahead of Jailram with LDL, Kitsune and Ellerin, Martin and Benjamin. 929 rounding off that top 10. Alpha Gully, Jake Marsh, Nico Lorenzo, Block, Astro rounding off the majority of the qualifying, and I just missed the bottom couple, but a really close grid here. Leslie sets us up and really does give us a bit of energy going into this Grand Prix. I think we're in for an absolute builder around the track of Silverstone.
I believe we are, and here we are. We are overcast here. I mean, it's Britain. What can you expect? You can't expect anything. So who knows what the weather's going to be like. We may get someone give us a weather update at some point, but we might not. So it could just be absolutely random. And to be honest, I prefer it that way. I prefer the excitement of something happening with the weather out of nowhere. But yeah, an exhilarating finish to that qualifying session sets us up for what I can already tell is going to be a really good Grand Prix here at Silverstone. Stevan is saying Julian is getting footage for restart, lest he check Discord. Steven, unfortunately, if it's one driver, there is not much we can do. Do we have a formation map?
We do. I did actually double check this because I wasn't too sure myself. I know it can be a little bit problematic, but yep, full formation lap here this season. It did catch me off by surprise as well. I did like to just be sure, but it is going to be a formation lap then with Lattice. I believe that's how we'll pronounce it. You've already touched on it, I think. 2 British nationals, especially with one of us being Scottish, maybe pronunciations could go a little bit out the window this season, but however, we will try our very best. A good mix of tyres then, Leslie, for this formation lap. Most of the grid on the hards, a couple opting for the softs, those being RCR Matozo in P3, TGT Alpha Gulli in P10, and RCR Lorenzini in P18. RBL Lorenzo and Benjamin 929 opting for the mediums P13 and P9 respectively. The rest of the grid, like I said, on those white stripe cards for the start of this Grand Prix.
Indeed, yeah, I've just got that information up. Bear with us, viewers, we are getting some information that there may be a possible restart due to Julian's penalties that he received. Right. I've reviewed the footage, and I've made the decision. We are going to have to go to a full restart. Sorry, just a restart of the race. So Julian has unfairly been given that 10-place grid penalty, and something similar happened in F1, and they restarted as well. So everyone, if you are listening in, please retire. And we will get a lobby set up ASAP for you guys. We do apologise. We know what F1 games are like. They have glitches here and there. It happens. Unfortunately, it's happened on the first round, so we do apologise for this, and we will get the race up and underway very shortly. I mean, these guys can have a nice practice start. Yeah, there you go. They all got through.
Bit of a shame with F1. Is it worth me just getting a fresh lobby?
Yes, I would say.
You know what Codemasters is like. I'll get that on the go, and hopefully, like you say, we'll get started quick and Nice quick and early. I do have a nice copy of the grid here, so it shouldn't take
Lovely.
me too long to figure out. If I can rack my two brain cells together, should be alright.
Perfect. So while Scott is doing that, I keep going to say freefall, and we decided before the race just use real name because it's so much easier, and I keep going to do freefall. So yeah, while Scott is doing that, everyone watching, please just give me some chats, give me some predictions. Who's going to win this race? Let us know your predictions. Is it going to be... I can't even remember his name now. Lutus? It's probably wrong. The CPI man that qualified in P1. Is he going to go on to win that race? Also, again, make sure you please like the stream, subscribe to League Racing TV. It all helps us out. Me and Scott will be really sad, and we won't return next week if you don't like the stream.
I can second that. We'll go on some sort of a light strike.
Yeah, we will strike, and we will tell Maze that we will not be returning. Although some of these viewers may not want us to return anyway, so this might backfire.
It's good with the biggest self-cancellation.
I've just seen a like come in. I've just seen one like come in. So, thank you, whoever that was. We appreciate you. While we're here as well, where is it? Okay, my cat is now attacking me. Where is it? I had this up. Yeah, why don't I speak through some Silverstone stats? So, the lap length of Silverstone is 5.8 kilometres, that's 3.6 miles long. Race laps, the full F1 race is 52 laps. I didn't actually catch how many we're doing here. I believe it's 26, because it's a 50% race. The race distance is 190.3 miles, but our drivers will be doing 95 miles. Pole position is on the left side of the track. And that's all the stats I have.
Nice and short, easy and sweet. I don't have many off the top of my head. I'm very quickly scurrying through trying to get everybody in this lobby, but it's, I mean, I won't lie, it's an effort sometimes typing out all these names.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, new season, a lot of different names, a lot of different drivers. It's a work in progress. Well, we had it on point. It's we blame Julian. It's all Julian's fault. Sorry, Julian, but I'm not sorry either. Has someone commented? Nick says hello. Hello, Nick. Harry says, is that the cat that caused the crash yesterday, I hear? Yes, that is the cat that caused me to crash out of my league race last night. Harry, you were literally in the party with me, so thank you for bringing that up. Let me know when you have invited myself, Scott, and I will get in.
Send you an invite there.
Oh, there is, yeah. Lovely.
I believe that's most of invited them. Still trying to get the majority of them in. Anyway, still a few just to send a quick invite to. in. While they're joining, I'll quickly do the settings, we'll quickly do the grid, and then eventually we'll get back to racing.
Yeah, sorry guys, I did just fail to join the session, so bear with me. And there we go, second time of asking, it works absolutely fine. It's a miracle. Also, anyone in the chat, we have the Singapore Grand Prix this weekend. Is anyone looking forward to it, or are we all just expecting another Max win and having to hear that Dutch and Austrian national anthem again?
I think, you know, betting or predicting anything other than that is an outside chance, but you never know. Of course, we have got this new layout to look forward to. So I believe it's recently implemented in the game as well. I haven't driven a lap of it or too much myself, but it'll be something new for us at the very least, even if it is the same old, with the winner and the constructor, of course. At least that'll be a bit different.
Yeah, I completely forgot about the new layout of Singapore, so that's actually ignited my interest a little bit more. Because I was just thinking, is there any point in watching it? Because I don't want to hear the national anthems of Holland and Austria again. Sorry if anyone watching is from Holland or Austria. It's nothing against you. It's just you just can't get it out your head anymore. You know the whole tune.
Just look here, we don't quite know what the weather was going to be, so I think we'll just be keeping on dynamic. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, I think it was put in. It was put in the chat. It was overcast for the whole race.
Set overcast and dry for the race. We are just waiting on one driver getting in, then we can quickly set the grid. It is the Haas of RBL Lorenzo. If you are happening to listen in, or anybody that's maybe sitting communicating with Lorenzo right now, if you could let him know we're just waiting on him, and then we'll quickly get this grid formed up and ready to go.
Right, I've asked the team of RVL where is Lorenzo, so apologies for the delay, guys. Again, if you are just joining us, we had one driver that was unfairly given 2 5-place grid penalties for illegal blocking in qualifying. It has been seen to be a bit of a glitch with the game. Nothing the driver could have done about it. So we've had to do a full restart. We are just waiting on one driver, and then we can get into the racing action. Has he joined? Oh, there he is. There he is. Right, we've got everyone in. So Scott is just going to get the grid all sorted and lined up properly. So I believe Julian will be, what, he'll be in the top 10 somewhere, won't he?
He'll be P6 here to qualify.
P6. I still have the EA music on, so if this gets copyright striked, I do apologise, mate. But I'm actually quite enjoying it right now.
you've got their hand at TA, no matter what you maybe think of their game development. Their choice of music is generally up there, and they haven't failed to deliver this year for F1. I'm just having a quick final check through, and I believe, yes, we are good to go with the custom grid as per the results of that qualifying, with, of course, Julian jumping up a position, or 10 positions, where he actually did qualify in P6. So as far as lobby settings go anyway, we are good to go. We'll just let the drivers know, and hopefully, well, there you go. Good to see they're listening in.
Yeah, unfortunately for them, they are listening to us, or myself actually. I don't know why you listen to my monotone voice and drive at the same time. I do feel sorry for you if any of you drivers are doing that. But yeah, we're readying up. We are getting into the lobby. We can get into the thick of the action. Finally, hopefully, no more issues. One issue is enough, and we can hopefully get a really good race here. Let's hope everyone gets through turn 1 nice and clean. And yeah, looking forward to seeing who comes out on top here.
Absolutely. Will it be the CPI of Lattice? Will Michelle for LE be able to climb off that P2 into P1 going into turn 1 and race off into the distance? Or could we see an outside contender from maybe Matozo, from Jarmo, from Mikilla, Nee, Gelrim, or maybe even the man that caused the restart, Julian, rising up from P6? It's going to be an interesting 26 laps here around this Silverstone International circuit. Of course, 18 turns in the lap around the old World War II airfield. Stripped many a journeys, of course, beginning from that airfield years gone by. Well, the journey of F2 and EML is about to get fully underway very, very shortly. The drivers just getting the setups, getting the strategy all locked in, and the final preparations for the final time here on Silverstone before the 5 red lights. Neil said the 5 green lights there.
Yeah, that is a good point. I didn't think about setup, so I have just put a reminder in the Discord for the drivers. If you are listening as well, remember your setups, because they won't be on there now, because we have started a new lobby. There we go. We are on the grid, ready for the formation lap. So, once again, as you've already done once before, let's look at the tyres that the drivers will be starting on. So, pretty much the same as before. Most drivers going onto the hard tyre for the start. We've got 3 drivers, RCR Matzozo. I might just call you Mats. I'm going to go RCR Mats, Alpha Gully of TGT, and RCR Lorenzino on the softs. And the only medium runner off the start will be RVL Lorenzo. So, Scott, can I have a prediction from you? Who is going to win the race? You can even do podium as well if you like.
Oh, now this could be the first enactment of commentators, Gus. I mean, Lattis, he looked very, very impressive in that qualifying session, so definitely can't round him off. But the one driver that's taking my eye right now, it is Matozo on P3, on the soft tyres. He's going to be lightning quick on the start. And do you know what? I'm going to put him in for that race when I think starting on the softs, it's the different strategy, it's the alternative run. And I think it could be the big brain play to maybe take it to the 26 laps in pole position. Lattice, I can't see him finishing much far away from the podium, so I'm not going to take that away from him. And that 3rd place on the podium, well, it could be a number of drivers. It could be Michelle, it could be Jarmo, it could be Killarney, Julian, Gelrim, Kitsune, it could be any of them. I'm not going to put get too much pressure or too much favouritism in at the early stage. But yeah, Matozo, I'm going to back the Frenchman in the Alpine right now.
Nice, yeah, I like it. I get it. I'm going to stick with Lattis to take the win. I'm going to say J-Rum is going to get second, and I think the other CPI man will take the podium, Mikela NL. So here we are then, as we line up. It's season 5 of F2 in Esports Masters League. It's round 1 at Silverstone. We're going to get underway. It's 5 lights. I've got horrible view, but we are away. Lattis getting a good start. Matozo already on those soft, pushing up into P2 ahead of Michel. We're going to go on board just to see now. He's got that position. There's all sorts of movement going on the back. No one's gone off. It's a pretty clean start for most of the grid. Little bit of movement going on towards the back. The two soft runners of Alpha Gully and Lorenzino making early moves. They need to make the most of the softs at this start, because they're not going to last very long around this Silverstone circuit. Let's go on board now with Julian and Jarmo. Jarmo, 10th and a half behind. It's still very, very tight in here. No one has made a single mistake anywhere so far. And DRS trains already in effect without the DRS as we're going through Maggots and Beckett's. Everyone nice and clean, and the race is underway.
Yeah, very, very clean start to the race. A little bit of wheel banging at the sort of rear end of the grid, but nothing too untoward, nothing to be really, really bothered about. J-Rum going side by side with Kitsune around the long right-hand at the end of the hangar straight, and it is J-Rum that comes out on top. Benjamin, Nico, they've been doing a little bit squabbling through this first lap, and Nico loses out to block 43, who pushes him slightly wide round that final corner. Lorenzino and Alpha Gulli both slipping on through. Lorenzino up from the back of the pack into P12. Alpha Gulli started up around about P10, dropping down on the first lap on those softs, but now starting to come back to life and pushing up through as he makes contact with the Williams of block 43, and is going to lose it back out to Nico. This little pack around P10 down to P14, really heating up here on this second lap here. Last days Lorenzino goes down the inside of Benjamin 929 up, I believe, 8 positions, sorry, at the start of this Grand Prix. What a start from the RCR driver.
Yeah, it's a brilliant start from the RCR drivers. Benjamin at the back for the Aston Martin TGT team has made a mistake. He's fallen off the back and he's missing a front wing. That is damaging, especially starting on the hards. Not the start of the race that he would have wanted. Brilliant fighting in the midfield already, as Lattis is now coming back for the lead. He's retaken the lead up the inside of RCR Mats, and those softs haven't been able to pull away from the CPI man, and he slips back into P2. That just really shows the pace of Lattis there. That was without DRS, and he's managed to get back ahead of the Alpine RCR driver. Benjamin adding to his woes with a 5-second penalty, and he's already retired from the race. Come on, Benjamin, keep going. We don't like to see that, unfortunately. We are down a man already. That's a TGT driver out, but still looking very tight within this top 10.
Oh, absolutely. DRS train pretty much from start to finish. We're just on the cusp of the 1 second gap. P9 for Martin and P11 for Block. Gully and Mr. Joe battling out for P14. These softs really not biting in, really not heating up maybe the same. Get the performance that some of the drivers, likes of Matsozo and Alpha Gully in particular, would be expecting. He's languishing down in P14, battling out with Astros and Jake Marsh and Mr. Joe. Also, with this DRS train really in full effect, and it's going to kick in even worse because the DRS is now enabled. Lattice loses out the lead as a result of that to Mazzoso. Back in front, the soft runner has a few switches in the mid-pack. Now can we see if the Alpine can get that toe down and try and stretch that gap. It's going to be really, really tricky with the DRS toe in full effect. Jailram getting past Jarmo into P6.
Sorry, Scott. Jarmo, yeah. J-Ram's gone round him. Jarmo has tagged the inside curb there, and he's gone for a spin. He is now fallen to the back of the pack. A good little fight there. Jarmo went deep. J-Ram went for the cutback. Really nice move. And unfortunately for Jarmo, touching that inside curb was not a good option. Not maybe an option he was trying to take, but that is what has happened for the Ferrari driver, and he's got a bit of a recovery drive to do. He's not too far off the back, so it's not the worst thing in the world. No damage to his car, and Mats is back into the lead of this race, and it's looking like these top 6 are now pulling away as Lorenzino on those softs in P7 has got a 2-second gap to J-Ram ahead, so we're going to enjoy a nice top 6 battle as we've got the front 3 now. DRS Lattice is going to come back. Mats, he's gone for the move up the inside. It's a yo-yo effect. These two have gone backwards and forwards for all 4 laps so far, so I'm expecting these two to carry this battle on most of the race, but good clean fighting at the front, some nice overtaking moves, and the top 6 are pulling away still. It's a 2.6 second gap to Lorenzino in P7.
Yeah, I think that gap forming just with Jarmo falling out of the train, that opened up the space and allowed the top 6 just to pull that gap. And we all know how powerful the DRS is. Once you're out of the 1 second toe to the car in front, not only do you lose a lot of that slipstream effect, you're going to lose the DRS effect as well. A man that's using the DRS pretty well, makes a little bit of contact though, is block 43, trying to get past LRN. Martin does have the lift off and almost cede the position back for knowing that he pushed the Ferrari a little bit wide there and has left himself very vulnerable to LDL and Nico. The two of them going to go side by side. We've seen this before, and the 3 of them in fact doing very well to keep it mostly clean. Little bit of wheel bang, a little bit of touching and contact here and there, but the battle for 9, 10, 11 heating up brilliantly between the Ferrari, the Williams and the McLaren here as they run down towards the hangar straight. The Ferrari is just now going to be out of DRS as a result of that battle into the cars in front. He's going to be easy pickings, not just to the Williams of block, but to the McLaren of Nico down to P11. Mr. Joe getting the move done on Alpha Gulli further behind, and Lorenzino not having that DRS pull as well, loses out to the other LDL driver of only Kitsu. The top 6 still keeping in that train, but the gap 3.3 seconds. They were really starting to pull away from this midfield battle. Jarmo has caught up a little bit at the back here, still 2.3 adrift. A little bit of work to do to get back into this race and back on course. However, like you say, not fully out in the picture yet.
No, definitely not, and his teammate is in a bit of trouble. Martin getting a bit loose and having a bit of contact with Jake Marsh, battling for P11 here. That was squeaky bum time there for both these drivers. Now Jake Marsh is being attacked up the inside by Astro in the Mercedes, who's looking to get a move done and take P12. There's a lot of battling going on from P9 down to sort of P13. Some good clean battling. Don't mind a bit of wheel banging. I've got a bit of respect for a bit of wheel banging. Just get in there, get a bit aggressive, clean but aggressive. And I'm really enjoying the racing that we're seeing so far in what's only been 6 laps of this Silverstone race. Are we going to see any movement at the top? We're not, but we are going to see movement for P7 as Lorenzino retakes that position he lost to LDL only Kitsune on the previous lap. So far, just a lot of yo-yoing, apart from the guys that are in and around sort of 9th to 13th place. those guys seem to be getting in a bit of a scrap, and then others seem to be capitalising on it. So far, top 6 are definitely pulled away, and the rest are battling amongst themselves and ultimately actually slowing themselves up a bit.
Yeah, it is ultimately costing not just themselves but those around them time, and gaining that advantage to that top 6. 4 seconds adrift is the rest of the pack. But some great racing, like you've said, really getting the elbows out, and that's okay. You're alright to get your elbows out, just don't start punching people, is what I always say when it comes to the racing. But the battle's still raging on here between Block and Only Kit. So interestingly enough, they have pulled in. They were just outside that DRS. They've used maybe a little bit of BRS and a little bit of maybe pace they had in the locker to catch back up to that P7 and P6 battle. P7 battle, sorry. My apologies. They, however, as well, Nico gapping Martin a little bit. The gap from P10 to P11, 1.5, so he could be under threat from Jake Marsh, who has been getting very close as the lead does swap positions. Yellow flag, sector 2 and 3, that is Mr. Joe, who's lost it on the exit of Maggots and Beckett's, the last little kink before the start-finish straight. What's happened to Lattice, though? Leslie? Sorry there, mate.
It's all kicking off at the front. There's been a good bit of battling between the CPI driver of Me Killer and Julian and J-Ram. A nice freeway battling there, and then out of nowhere, Latter's dropped off from Michelle and Mats at the front, and he's now slotted into P6. I don't know whether there was contact. It looks like he was going into the pits. We missed that. But yeah, something's happened there, clearly, to put him back 5 positions.
Bit of contact. Thank you to our guest commentator there, Leslie the Twig. Have a quick brief here. Sorry about that, mate. I knew something like that was going to happen at one point because Leslie just doesn't seem to roll well with my accent. Default through to the female Leslie.
Honestly, Leslie, Leslie, whatever you want. Whatever you want. But are we going to see now, Scott, a change in the lead again? But are we going to have a new race leader? Because Michelle here flying towards the rear of Matt and straight past him, as Martin further down in P12 is the first to get a track limits penalty. I don't think he'll be the last, but he is the first, so he's been called out on it. Sorry, Martin. But Michelle takes the lead, is the new race leader. We've had 3 race leaders so far, and Michelle is the latest of them. And it's sort of a top 3. There's a small sort of gap building between the top 3 and the 3 behind. But yeah, it looks like the top 3 are going to be battling again. So I can't see that gap building too much. So the top 6 continuing to battle, and I'm really enjoying that we've got a group at the front and not just 1 or 2 drivers. It's really giving us an entertaining race so far, and then even the rest further behind, everyone is so close together. Really thrilling action going on here in F2 Season 5 Round 1 opener so far, and 8 laps on the softs. Are we going to be seeing the 3 guys, Mats, Lorenzino, Alpha Gully, all pitting very shortly?
I don't think they can be too far away from making that call, diving into the pits and most likely getting a set of hards on to go to the end of this Grand Prix. Lattice is on his recovery drive, using the DRS and a little bit of the ERS. He's got plenty in the tank compared to Julian and gets up into P5, but Julian not quite taking it lying down. He did have a little think about sending up the inside there into turn number 16, I believe it is, off the top of my head. But Lorenzini is going to pull that trigger for the soft runners. Alpha Gully follow suit. The RCR driver and the TGT driver, the first to pit in this Grand Prix, both making it in without the 5-second dreaded penalty, of course. Things that are absolutely brilliant to see. And it is going to be medium tyres for Lorenzi, and I think it is the same No, it's the hards for Alpha Gulli, interestingly. A front wing change for the Aston Martin driver. He picked up a little bit of damage in that battle, and maybe just showing why he wasn't quite making the same progress on the softs. Lattice, though, in getting that move on Julian, has just lost touch with that DRS here, Leslie, and he is currently just outside as they approach the Maggots and Beckett's complex. He might just be able to sweep back in and try an outward re-challenge for a top 4, top 3 potential position here.
Yeah, as we said earlier, the DRS trains around here at Silverstone are... They happen frequently, but they're so important as LDL Nico picks up a penalty as well. And also we are on board block as he takes P7 away from Oni Kitsune, and so does Nico moving up ahead of his teammate. As we see Matt's coming into the pits from the front. So... we'll see where he comes out. I'm sure he'll just come out pretty much at the back of the field. But yeah, Lattice inside now of the DRS. So he's done a good recovery, and it's now Julian who is under pressure as I'm on board with Nico still pushing Block. And Block's gone a bit deep now, and that's going to compromise him on the exit here towards the DRS zone. And is LDL Nico gonna be able to go for a move? It looks like he's gonna eye one up. No, he stayed patient. He's actually tucked in behind. It's not often you see that. Not often you see a lot of drivers be patient, especially in a DRS zone. And he's decided to just tuck in and stay with Block for now. But he's got his teammate behind him. If you don't make a move, you're going to hold up your teammate and possibly lose him a position, as I think, Scott, you might be looking at the top guys.
I am. I was just keeping an eye on Gelram as he came through at Maggots and Beckett's, but it's not the one to be looking at. It's McKillen, NG, who makes the move into race lead, becomes our 4th race leader here, overtaking the LE driver with the use of that DRS once again. Gelram getting very close through Maggots and Beckett's complex, but couldn't quite find a space or find a place to make the move, and had to just settle in and stick to P3 at the moment. This battle, brilliant bit of racing. A lot of long-term strategy going in here with not just the tyres, with the usage of the ERS. Gelram holding a little bit in reserve here, so one to definitely watch out for potential overtakes maybe later on in this Grand Prix. Interesting thing to note as well, I've had a little creep round with the old race director here, Leslie. I nearly did it again. It's just me trying to think too quick. But out of the top 4, every one of them has at least one warning. And L.E. Michel is on his 2nd as things stand. So penalties definitely could come into a factor. We've seen it from Nico, who's going side by side with block 43 and has to settle back in behind, almost identical to what we've seen the last lap, and to just slip in behind the Williams for now on 3 second, as is Martin. But definitely a few drivers riding very close to that 3rd warning. And speak of the devil, it is Jarno Butabji with the 3rd 3 second penalty of the evening.
Scott, you have given the first commentator's curse of the season as J-Ram overtakes Michel. Michel decides, that's it, I've had enough on these hards. Pitting this early, I'm going to presume he's going to go for mediums. I do not think softs are going to last longer than he's done on the hards. Julian pitting as well. He was one I was going to highlight because he had fallen out of DRS, and I was going to say that I was going to get a bit worried about him because he was going to be in a bit of no man's land. He really needs to get some consistent laps in and push to get onto the back, as we see Matt's on those fresh mediums set the new fastest lap of 1:28.9. But Julian, yeah, needs some consistent laps, needs to get on the back again of the guys in front of him to be able to get the DRSs. There's a bit of contact further up, 7th place. Jake Marsh just gives a little kiss to the rear of Oni Kitsune, puts him a bit off line, out of shape. Martin takes full advantage, moves himself up into P7, and Jake Marsh will be checking his brakes to see if they're working, because he needs those in times like those.
Absolutely. Block is all over the rear. Speaking of Jake Marsh, 3-second time penalty here for him, but back to Block ever so quickly. He's got the DRS and is going to make a move back again on Nico. We've seen these two battling for quite a bit. As CPI McKillerney comes into the pits. Julian, of course, and Michelle going that lap early, going for a bit of an undercut. Julian has came out behind Lorenzini, who is on 3-lap old mediums. But RCR Mats has been in him some amazing lap times. He did get held up a little bit by Mr. Joe, maybe losing guts of about a second, half a second anyway. But he should come out right up in the battle for the run towards the end of this Grand Prix. He, of course, took those soft 10 laps, so it's going to be 16 laps on those mediums to the end, and all the cars that we did see pull in, the CPI driver and Block and only Kitsu all going for the mediums. But in a couple of laps time, Leslie, we could see a couple of soft runners appear out of the pits, and that could be a real battle of the strategies towards the end of the Grand Prix. Matozo, though, leading those that have pit already, 2.7 seconds clear of Michelle, who's just passing CPI McKillerney down through the first of the DRS straights here. But the pit stops really starting to fire in, and the penalties creeping in ever so slightly as well.
Yeah, definitely. I was going to ask the question to you whether we would see the softs. You brought it up yourself. I'm interested to see what Lattice and J-Room do. Obviously, they might be concerned because the others have pitted. Lattice does go for the pit because theoretically you're going to be losing time. You're going to be seeing Mats setting fastest laps after fastest laps at the moment. I think he's got fastest laps for the previous 2 or 3 laps now, so he is flying on his fresh medium tyres, and that might be quite concerning for the others. They've got a bit of work to do because he's gained a gap on Michelle and Mikula, as Michelle actually does a fastest lap himself, 1:28.1, so he's looking strong, but is he going to have the pace to catch up to Mats, as Lattice has come out behind Julian, so he's lost a position there. Obviously going longer, you would expect it. All eyes on J-Ram now. Will he go for the mediums or will he go for the softs? I think if he pits this lap, he might be okay, but from what we saw of Mats on that first stint, didn't look like, if you're in the DRS train, didn't look like the softs really gave you too much of an advantage. Unless you can really pull yourself out of the DRS, I'm not sure how much worth it is.
Yeah, like you're saying, Mats, he did sort of just get stuck in that very stereotypical DRS train where the front two could overtake each other using that DRS, and that was about it. He could never quite pull out the gap, never had the opportunity or the pace in the first few laps to really pull out that gap. Martin is into the pits, as is Astros. Lattice making a move with the assist of that DRS on Lorenzino, who of course pit 5 laps earlier up into what is P10, but of course will rise a few with others in the pits. The Ferrari of Martin is going for the mediums also, as is Astro. It's getting very, very close though to that point where we could see a few of these cars put on that red stripe soft. Of course, train cars are going to be a little bit lighter, a little bit more, a bit less fuel in the tanks, so definitely a possibility. And the little thing that makes it a difference, it's more towards a qualifying trim, of course. Once, you know, like we say, is the delta there on the softs? I'm not quite sure myself. You're not quite convinced. Are any of the drivers convinced? That will be the big question.
Well, we may find out as J-Ram comes into the pits. He's stayed out longer than any of the others that were in the top 6 that were battling. Is he going to go for the soft tyre? I think, to be honest, he's going to actually need the soft tyre, because the undercut, the time he's lost, he is on the softs. He's going to have to put some really cracking laps in now if he's going to be able to compete for a possible race win or even a podium, because he's coming out behind pretty much the rest of the top 6 that were battling. Is he going to get out ahead of Julian? Just behind. So yeah, he's net P6 after that, and he's got a lot of work to do. He's on the fresh rubber, the soft tyre. Can he make it work? We'll find out. He's got 10 laps to show us what he can do. And also, LDL only kit soon. Someone we've not talked about a lot, to be honest, but we have seen him battling in the midfield area on those fresh mediums. Set the fastest lap on the previous lap as a 1:27.7. So he's looking pretty fast. Only in P14 at the moment, but on that current pace, anything is possible for the LDL driver. As Julian pits up for 3-second penalty, that could be big for the podiums or top 6.
It could have a big impact, and Matozo is losing some impact on his race. He does lose out to Michelle and Mikiller, dropping down to P5. Jerome getting past Julian as he picked up that penalty. Now he's roughly, give or take, about 4 seconds off the net race lead here, but he has got 4 cars to pass while it's at it, and none of them are going to make it easy, and of course those softs are going to start to wear off and die. Him and Lattice, though, they are closing down that gap to the pack in front. It is down to 2.5 seconds. It was up round about the 4-second mark not too long ago, so the Red Bull and the Alfa Romeo for CPI and WR respectively going side by side as they do close down that gap, and the soft runner is ahead of the Red Bull on the mediums. But Lattice got a lot more in the tank when it comes to ERS. Gelrum already used quite a bit of that battery, but he's only going to have 14% to try and pull that car up into the DRS. At least 1 second he has to gain over the next few laps to try and give himself a shot and a chance at this race win. Further down the pack, there's been a great battle. You briefly touched on it as well. One of the drivers won the Kitsu, Jarno Butelje and Elaren Martin. As Michelle, that could be a big impact also on this Grand Prix. Leslie picks up a 3-second time penalty. But the battle for P11, P12 and 13, it's not for the big places, but it's definitely one not to be slept on. Some great action going up and down the field, as it has all race, to be fair.
Yeah, definitely agree with that, and definitely agree that Michel's penalty here could be quite costly when it comes to the end of the race. J-Ram on those fresh softs, kind of expected it. There's the fastest lap going to him so far, 27.7. I was going to shout out Jake Marsh, and then he did just get a speeding penalty. So Jake, unfortunate there. Again, I would check those brakes, just give them a little check, see if they're working. But he's come out on the softs, P15. He's got nothing to lose it. Just go and attack, my friend. Go and attack. And he will have some comfort that the 4 or 5 drivers in front of him are all attacking each other, apart from sort of the LDL guys who are just sort of swapping places, and they're not going to hold each other up too much, as J-Ram is already onto the back of Mats. J-Ram is making really good pace as he's got the DRS as well. We're going to see a good battle here, as I think Michel is going to get swallowed up, although J-Ram's been blocked off, so he's going to have to switch to the inside. He's making the move on Michel. Michel's still there, holding his own. Is he going to concede? He's just going to put himself there. Who's that? Latters coming out of nowhere, trying to get involved as well. Not sure that was the right move to go for. Didn't work out for him, and he stays P5. But these guys all getting really close together again, like we saw in the first few laps of the race. And all this has helped the CPI man. Oh, J-Ram is round. That's not going to help his chances. Someone has clipped J-Ram, and I believe Michelle was the driver behind him. Not throwing accusations. This is what I believe, as JR Lattis takes P3 away from Michelle. So it's all kicking off here in these final closing laps, and it's all for the podium now, really, because Me Killer is gone.
Yeah, Me Killer absolutely stretching his legs out front. He's on pretty fresh tyres compared to those behind. Of course, there's not going to be a huge difference, but every little does help in terms of pace. 3.3 seconds ahead. His teammate, though, he's eyeing up the 1-2 his lat as he tried that move into the final left-hander of the circuit last time to get up towards the podium, and in fact he's put his car in provisional P2 of the podium with the use of the DRS down that hanger straight. Astro's down in P14. There was a yellow flag flashed up for a brief second last lap. He had a little bit of a spin, but kept it all nice and clean together, and is still going in this race. Nico and Martin, they've been duking it out for a few laps. They're still duking it out for P9 and P10. Kitsune has fallen away from them a little bit, and there's a big penalty. Leste Matozo getting a 3-second penalty. So J-Ram, despite having that spin, he's looking at the three cars in front and thinking this might not be over yet.
Yep, definitely not, as Jake Marsh on his fresh soft sets a new fastest lap. Well done to him. But yeah, J-Ram's eyes after that spin, going from a pretty low place of thinking I've just done all that hard work on these fresh softs, to now the three guys ahead of me, all with penalties. All I need to do is tuck up inside behind them, and I will be picking up a podium here. But man, CPI looking good so far. Lattis will have it all to do, though. He's going to be pressured. These guys will know with penalties they've got to try and press the CPI man into a mistake and hopefully force him to get a penalty, because that will be the only way they can gain any further positions and take P2 at the moment. Me Killer still about 3 seconds in the lead, looking pretty comfortable. He's just got to keep the consistent laps and he should be home and dry. Easier said than done. Not trying to create a commentator's curse, but that is the plan for the CPI man out in the lead. And as you said as well, enjoying these battles for the lower points positions. I feel like LDL Nico and LRN Martin have been at it this whole race, and respect to them, because from what I've seen it's been very good racing between them. And Martin's actually going to have to race someone else now, because he's going to have to go on the defence, as Jake Marsh is practically pushing that Ferrari around the corner. And as they head into the DRS section, and LDL Nico, LRN Martin, apologies, goes for a late defence on Jake Marsh. Slightly naughty, but in the end Jake Marsh does pick up P10, and he's flying on those fresh softs. And talking of WOR, J-Ram picks up a penalty.
Just goes from bad to worse for J-Ram, who's on for odds on anyway for a pretty good result. That little mistake or incident coming into play, and now it can play in you, of course, in the 3-second penalty picking up to add to his time. He has got a 5.3 second gap to the next car back, RCR Lorenzino, so he shouldn't drop back much further unless things change quite a little bit. Lattis though has been holding on to that P2 and holding a similar gap to McKillany, and you know, he has looked at times as if he could be closing that gap, but maybe there's a little bit of the tactical hold here. He doesn't want to try and catch his teammate too much, just pull the field along, and just holding enough, knowing those 4 cars behind him have penalties. I did have a quick look, he has got 1 warning himself, but of course it is 3 strikes before you get any sort of penalty, and CPI boys, like you said, doing very, very good. That battle though It's still raging on between Nico, Block, Jake Marsh and Martin. Jake Marsh and Block, the new attendees to this battle for P8. They've seen the two, the McLaren and the Ferrari, battling for laps upon laps and thought, let's get a little bit of this action here, going side by side on the run up to Cops. Block does tuck right into behind the WR driver as Astros picks up a 3-second time penalty for his worries. He's currently running in P14, but Block still following the Alfa Romeo, through this Maggots and Beckett's second. He is going to have DRS now down the hangar straights as Nico has pulled out a 1.7 gap ahead of Jake Marsh, and this should be an elementary overtake for Block, but Jake's not making it easy on him, holding that inside line. He's going to defend as much as he can, and he has to cede the position. Martin, though, hanging about in the background like a lion, waiting to pounce on some weak prey, is looking for every opportunity he has, and he does have a little look up the inside, but a big moment there for LRN. Martin almost into the wall. A big snap of oversteer sees him lose a few positions. Does that count as commentator's curse? Answers on a postcard.
I will let you off on that one, I think. I think you're okay with that one. Yeah, Martin, they're a little bit ambitious, especially with the penalty. I know Jake Marsh has at least one himself, so maybe worth it in the end, but it hasn't come out with the result that he would have wanted from that move. But yeah, going back to Jake Marsh and Block, that last lap, that previous lap, brilliant racing from these two. A bit of wheel banging, a bit of collisions earlier on in the lap, but really good racing, and Block's done ever so well to keep Jake Marsh, who has been flying on those fresh softs. He's managed to keep him behind, only let him ahead briefly, as you said and commentated through, as Jake Marsh decides not to take that corner. Jake Marsh in between the white lines, please sir, and he will tuck in behind Block, and they will continue for these final 2 laps. That'll be an interesting one, although Jake has a penalty, so does take away from it slightly. Top 6 though, still battling away. Obviously Lattice has got the advantage over the guys behind him, not having the penalty. But are we going to see any more moves here? Jayram is actually eyeing up one right now. He's going for the inside on Michelle. Nice and easy move. Michelle is not going to be able to do a switchback. Jayram up into P4. He's got a lap and a half. Can he get Mats before we reach the checkered flag? It's going to be tough. He's flashing. He's very low. Mats has got a decent amount to defend with as Michelle picks up another penalty. So Michelle is definitely going to drop out of the top 5 here unless there's more penalties coming. But coming up towards the final lap, I think all eyes on Jayram and Mats for this final podium position.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot from Jayram to be able to get that that Alfa Romeo, for WR up into P3. He was pushing to try and get within that 1 second DRS, and he just missed out by a fraction of a tenth of a second. He is just right on the cusp of that 1 second, and he's really going to have to get inside it for the next detection point on this final lap if he's going to have any hope and any chance. It's not going to be made easy, of course. Mats has got DRS from Lattice, so can try and defend, and I think Jayram, he was right on the cusp again, but it is going to be no dice for him and no DRS. Michelle with that 6 second penalties isn't going to be a worry in results unless something goes disastrous for the Alfa Romeo, but still could put pressure on him on the track here round this final few laps. Fastest lap time could be up for grabs as well. Jarmo Butterjee did go for a late pit stop onto the soft, so maybe going for that run here, but this battle for the final 3 looks as if it could be all but over. Matozo maybe just about doing enough to hold off Jayram, but he's playing second fiddle to the two CPI boys who have run a really tremendous race here, Leslie.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself. They've been involved in the battles. Lattis obviously had a bit of a wobble or a bit of contact early on, possibly with Mats, which pushed him out of the P1 position. But it's his teammate, Milkiller NL for CPI, who will take the first win here at round 1 of F2 in Silverstone. Congratulations to him. Lattis takes P2. What a start for CPI. It's 1 and 2. You can't ask for much more than that. And it's Mats who holds off the pressure from JRAM to take P3. He was up there most of the race, so I'd say it's quite deserved, although JRAM showed some great pace throughout. Julian ends up in P5, then it's Michelle. Well done to those two as well, producing great racing in that top 6. Lorenzinho sort of had a race to himself, finishes in P7. LDL Nico definitely didn't have a race to himself, finishing in P8 with Block behind him, who is battling most of the race. Only Kitsune for LDL rounds off the top 10. Then it's Lorenzo in P11. Martin, with that late attempt, pushes him back to P12 after having a bit of contact. Alpha Gully finishes up in P13. Jake Marsh, in the end, with too many penalties, really. That's what's tripped him up today here at Silverstone. He finishes in P14 for WRR. Astro in P15. Mr. Joe 93, didn't really see much of him. Unfortunate. He was quite far off the back. Something must have happened there. It's an unfortunate race 1 for him. And Jarmo finishes at the back. Went for the fastest lap. I don't know if he got it. Did we see if he got that?
I think he did just squeak it right at the last. Don't quote me on it, but I'm 99% sure I saw a little flash of the purple. And looking at the time boards, he did 26.442 to claim that fastest lap, did Jarmo.
Oh, well done to him if he did, and good spot. I can't remember our own rules, but I believe that means he does get the fastest lap point. Don't hold me to that. I'm just thinking off the top of my head, but there we are. CPI with the perfect start, P1 and P2, and Mats rounding off the podium. Let's just check that fastest lap. I think we can confirm it was Jarmo, 26.4, pretty fast actually. I think he's the only one that got into the 26s, so well done to him. Shame the rest of the race wasn't as fortunate as the fastest lap. And the only retirement of the race was Benjamin, unfortunately, quite early on. Apart from that, though, brilliant race.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. The one retirement, like you say, coming early. The rest of them, a few mistakes tripped in. A few of them had maybe a brush very near to the barrier at some points, but nothing that really suggests there was anything too much for the stewards to investigate. A little bit of wheel bang and a little bit of elbows out, but overall a great bit of race. And a big shout out there as well. A lot of attention going to the CPI guys, but RCR, they're going to be happy with that result. P3 for Mats, and Lorenzinho starting right down near the back of the pack, pulling his car up into P7. A solid result for them here around Silverstone. Just topping off a pretty good Grand Prix to kick off this season here in F2.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better myself, and that will give us a good template for what is to come in Season 5 here in Esports Masters League. We will be back next week with Round 2. As I try and find it. Here we go. Round 2, we are heading down under. We are heading to Melbourne. It's the Australian Grand Prix. This time next week, same time next week, 8 PM. It'll be myself and Scott once again. Thank you for joining us on the stream. Make sure you do like it just before you close out. Subscribe to League Racing TV as well. We appreciate both of those things And finally, Scott, before we go, can I get a driver of the day?
Oh, for me, it's there is a number of drivers it could have went to. We had some brilliant performances, but for me, it's got to be the CPI man, the man that took the victory. It's Mikkeller NL. Brilliant race. Controlled it, maybe not from start to finish, but he controlled it where it mattered, and a solid victory, not just for him, but for his team. So, driver of the day, CPI Mikkeller.
Love it, absolutely love it. I'm gonna go my driver of the day, which you pointed out. Actually, I didn't really realise, but Lorenzino starting all the way towards the rear of the field. I believe, was he the one that got blocked in qualifying and crashed out of qualifying? Have I got that wrong?
I believe he was. Yeah, he did start P18.
Yeah,
right
so
at the back of the
P18 to P7. He's gone under the radar, really. I didn't really notice much of him. But as I said, in going through the results, I think he had a race to himself, really. Just kept out of the battling and just done what was needed to be done. So he will be my choice for driver of the day, I think. But that is that. We'll round this off. Scott, thank you for joining me for the first race, and I look forward to the rest of the season in the commentary box with you.
Oh, pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. And yeah, can only repeat what you say. We've got a number of rounds, a number of 9 weeks more of hopefully just as good, action-packed, clean, and enjoyable racing. And I can't think of much better to do on a Wednesday night than sit and commentate alongside yourself, watching over the kind action we had tonight. So here's to season 5.
Exactly. There's nothing better in the world to do on a Wednesday night. Try and state one thing, it won't be true. But yeah, couldn't have put it better myself. Thank you again, everyone, for tuning in. Join us for the Australian Grand Prix, round 2 of season 5, F2 Esports Masters League, 8 PM next week. Myself and Scott will be back here to take you through all the action. Keep safe, have a good rest of your evening, and we'll see you next week. Ta-ra.